New season starts now with the On-Call Empath podcast show with your host, Raj Montage. Are you ready to transform your life and gain powerful insights from top experts? The On-Call Empath is the top-rated podcast that has featured over 250 guests, including renowned doctors, therapists, healers, and coaches, all sharing life-changing wisdom to help you overcome obstacles, heal, and thrive. Our top guests will be part of the Elite Coaches Series segments. These are high-profile guests with direct expertise in their field of study. Look for these episodes to drop each week. If you're looking for expert advice on mental health, resilience, trauma recovery, and personal growth, this is the podcast for you. Rated among the best for influencers, healers, and coaches around the world. Real conversations, real-world conversation from the best. Available on all major streaming platforms, Spotify and Apple. Don't miss out. Download the On-Call Empath today and start your journey to a better you. Click the link to listen now on all major platforms.
Guys, we are back for another episode of the On-Call Empath, and I've been waiting for a long time for this episode to finally drop, and it's happened with my special guest, Tanya. I'm going to have you say your last name so I don't butcher it, so everyone can hear it.
Ujigwe.
All right. You are a career and workplace strategist, and I love your Instagram. One of the things that really popped up, like every feed that I watch on your Instagram, you got a lot of followers, by the way. It just hit me hard just because I think there's a lot of people, a lot of empaths out there that are sick and tired of working, period, because of all the BS that's going out there. This episode is going everywhere, including LinkedIn, which I've never posted anything on LinkedIn, but I know the reason why I want to put it on there is so all the managers and leadership and every HR person can just take 5 minutes to 10 minutes to just listen to this episode and just ask the questions. Why are people wanting to work today? Before we get into all that, this is just a conversation between you and me. We're not giving any advice or anything like that. It's just two people talking. So I want to get right into it because I'm very passionate about this subject. Please tell me, Tanya, about a little brief history about how you got into this and a little bit about your background so we can get some context.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation today as
Absolutely.
well. I have to summarize, because I've done a lot in my career, but I came to focus on, workplace strategy, career strategy and coaching via years of running career development programs. I actually was doing that for youth through a few different organizations. And I went from being an individual contributor into becoming a manager, a people manager. And I really enjoy being a people manager. I really enjoy the coaching piece of it, the way that you can help to someone grow and develop into whatever they want to grow and develop into. And I love that part of it. And I wanted to do that piece. I didn't love all the other pieces of people management, but I wanted to focus on that. And I felt like it was something that I hadn't had. I felt like I had managers who weren't invested in my growth and development, and who in some instances tried to block that. And so I was like, I know that I can't be the only one having this experience. And I always had a good relationship with my staff. So I'd love to do this piece. I had some rough experiences in my career that led me to changing jobs, leaving an organization I was with for a while, going into a different company, and then getting laid off during the pandemic. And so that opened up the opportunity for me to go into coach training because I had the time. I had no job.
Yeah.
So I used that time wisely to get certified, and I started posting content about the workplace and all the things that we weren't hearing about, and just bringing my perspective as a Black woman, my perspective on the corporate world, for-profit and nonprofit, and how there's a lot going on that we aren't hearing about, we're not discussing. and it was well received. It's been well received ever since. So
Thank you
that's how
for
I
sharing
feel.
that. No, that definitely makes sense. And one thing I want to say is like this is a very personal interview for me because I've been through several jobs lately, software companies that are bait and switch, property management companies that have poor leadership, management, toxic coworkers. And I'm not the only one. If you look at the statistics, it's just not me saying this. I mean, goes further than empaths and people that are highly sensitive. You wonder why mental health, which we'll get to in a little bit, is so high for people in the workforce, people that are having PTSD, stress, quitting jobs, getting sick, having, those body aches, headaches, and then later on having health issues. But let's start with the number one issue here, which is people don't leave companies, they leave toxic bosses. I want to ask you this. I want to start the episode with this because that's what I've had problems with. I've always noticed that these toxic bosses don't have, I guess, like the leadership skills. They've kind of done well in their positions, but somehow they know how to play the game and talk to the right people to get into a higher position, which kind of spreads like cancer and just ruins the rest of the morale of the team. Yet people are leaving revolving doors, but nobody says anything to this. I want you to talk to the people out there about toxic bosses and what to look for.
Yes. Well, this is one of my favorite topics. There's so many, unfortunately. You have bosses who are insecure. These are the ones that are going to be threatened by you. These are the ones that aren't comfortable in their role. And a lot of times it's because of what you just said. It's because they were perhaps strong individual contributors. And so they got promoted into a people management role, but those are two different skill sets. And so they're not prepared. Some of it is not their fault. It's the companies who don't
Right.
invest in leadership development.
Yeah.
They're not prepared for the people part
Mhm.
of leading a team, and they may not even understand what leadership is in
Right.
relationship to what management is. So then they're threatened and they're focused on the
Yeah.
wrong things. They're unsure. So that
Yeah.
is then projected onto you. You have your bullies. You have your managers that are absentee. They're not there at all for you. They don't
Mhm.
want to meet with you. They don't want to
Mhm.
engage with you much, don't give you much direction. So
Mhm.
managers who communicate poorly,
Yeah.
the micromanagers who are
Yeah.
like some of the biggest headaches, who can't give up control over staff. They don't trust their staff, and some of that is
Mhm.
due to
Mhm.
insecurity as well. But all of these things, like there are people who love what they do. They might
Yeah.
even like the company, but that manager is a
Yeah.
big block, and
Yeah.
it's an important relationship.
Absolutely. And I mean, personally, like I said, I've worked at property manager companies, software companies, like just different industries. And I don't want to say these people are just bad people. I just feel like they just don't have the leadership, the education, the communication with, I mean, yes, they meet with you on meetings because they have to, but it's very much one way. And all those people that think there's anonymous feedback, it's BS because we all know it is not anonymous. It does get to the person, and that's why I don't feel comfortable, filling those feedback, out surveys because they're not effective. I mean, what is your take on that? Do you think there's any merit, like, of actually telling the truth? Because if somebody finds out that you're a troublemaker or you're pointing out things that are, wrong, why would a company want to keep you there?
Yeah, in a healthy environment, feedback is a great thing. That, information about what is not going well, what's not working, and why. That is something that healthy leaders want to hear. They want to know that. But unfortunately, we can be in environments where they ask for feedback and they'll say, here's an
Mm,
anonymous survey. I have had experience where definitely wasn't
mm.
anonymous because my boss pulled me into a meeting and asked and showed me, said, was this you? And I'm like, what happened to the anonymous survey?
Right, right.
Even if you
It,
say it in a way
yeah.
that is still respectful, you as a
Mhm,
leader, you have to also
mhm,
learn how to take
mhm.
feedback as much as you're
Okay.
giving it.
Now, a lot of people that are my audience, there's quite a few of empaths that are listening that may feel, they may not want to speak up or speak their truth on these surveys. They may feel a little bit apprehensive going to a manager, and then they hold it in. And basically, what then happens is resentment on both sides kind of grows. And then pretty much one person either fires another or a person leaves, a coworker leaves. In your opinion, I mean, in what you've worked with so many people, a lot of people that come to you for coaching, what do they say? Like, what are some practical tips to survive in a toxic environment when you have coworkers that are gossiping, that are backstabbing, that are telling your manager things about you, or just trying to get you to do stuff to work more hours when you're not supposed to, which happened to me at the software company, and I left right the next day. But I'm just saying, why I mean, a lot of our empaths, they're not going to speak up. They're not going to say anything, and they're just going to kind of just take off. And people are like, oh, well, he wasn't a right fit. He wasn't a good player. Can we talk about what really goes behind the scenes in a toxic workplace where there's workbook bullies, there's manipulators, there's people that punish you for going to a boss to talk about another coworker. These all happen, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, in regards to, I think in the gossiping and the
Yeah.
colleagues and whatnot, the best tip I can give is to really keep things surface level at work. Don't share personal information as best you can. It can be very difficult. We spend a lot of time at work. People can be very nosy. They ask a lot of questions. Keep
Mhm,
it surface level and pick a topic that you don't mind discussing.
mhm,
Your love of your dog, or your love of your plants, or your yoga hobby, whatever it is that you do. Stick to that so that people aren't digging. And sometimes that can be problematic. People don't like a mysterious person at work. But, like that's why I said pick something that you don't mind
mhm.
discussing. When it
Yeah.
comes to bringing up the feedback, or saying things, talking to your manager, you have to know what environment you're in. I say people don't just listen to what you hear. We welcome feedback. Come to me. I have open door policy. What do you see? Do you see consequences for people who do give direct feedback that isn't, simply, compliments all the time? Do you uh, do you feel like you have that your boss is open to hearing certain things? So that's going to be up for you to decide on a case
Mhm,
by case basis. I've had
mhm,
clients who um, are very hesitant to address the issue with their manager, but we go through and we practice how you might bring it up, and also go through like how bad is it for you. If you feel like you just have to say something and you're aware of the possible consequences, then go for it. And I've had people have positive outcomes with that. Like they're actually, sometimes we think it's going to be
mhm,
worse than what it is. And so the manager
mhm,
has been receptive. Like
mhm.
I didn't know because of the
Yeah.
way they say it. And then some
Mhm,
managers are going to have a problem with you. I've
mhm.
experienced that. They'll never
Yeah.
they'll never accept it.
Yeah, it's really tough out there. And I'm going to switch gears here real quick because I know for a fact that I will never go to HR for anything. I just felt like they're not on your team. They're there to protect the company from a lawsuit. They're afraid. That's why they did this exit interview when I left. They want to make sure that I don't have any like illegal things that I can bring up for leaving, racial or like something that's happened. Like they're there to protect the company first, and you're really not they're not really there to help you in my sense. Now, there are HR people that I'm friends with that I had on this podcast, and they have kind of shed some light what goes behind closed doors because they have certain things that they have to do to protect the company, save money. I get that. In your opinion, is HR a friend or a foe in your eyes?
Um, it in most instances, you know, that's not going to be my first course of action, is to go to HR. If there's a problem, as a manager, I've used HR in ways that has been beneficial to me, helping me talk through different issues that I might be having and understanding things better. So that's been helpful. But when it comes to if I have a problem with my supervisor, with a colleague, I'm going to document. And at some point, you're going to want to have that because you are going to have to go to HR with your documentation. But still, even though there's supposed to be, rules and help against retaliation, there's still can be that. I'd
Mm.
say always be prepared for the consequences. And like you said, HR is, there to do a job and to protect the company as best they can. You know, sometimes they might, if you have valid documentation and whatnot,
Yeah.
you might be able to get a positive outcome, but be prepared for not
Mm.
getting that. And try your best. I
Mm.
encourage people to try to work things through on their own. And then, keeping documentation, sharing it, or ultimately leaving because
Mm.
it can be very difficult. We see a lot of managers who are terrible and we're like, how are you still
Mm.
in this role?
No, I can tell you firsthand. I went to HR where they have an open door policy, and a couple weeks after they did an investigation, my boss knew some certain things that he mentioned, and the only person that I've told was HR. So I know that there was some sort of connection, there was some communication, and there were some things that I did not want my boss to know that was
Mhm.
leaked. And to me, that ruins my trust that in the future, like if I go back now, I'm not saying all HR people are bad or anything like that. A lot of them are my friends. A lot of them have been on this podcast that are a hard worker, that do want the best for the employees. However, majority in most of these companies that I've been through, they really don't. That's not the first place you should go. And always seek legal help if you're in a position of discrimination or anything that's been done to you, because retaliation is a real thing. And so if you speak up and you get written up or get put on a PIP, a PIP, just for speaking up, that can be considered retaliation. And that leads to my next question is those people that are being pushed out the door or maybe left out of meetings, this causes, especially for empaths that are listening, it causes a lot of mental health issues that is cost company time. Sometimes it costs layoffs or people that quit, physical health issues, people more time off that need time off. What is your take on mental health and the correlation of a bad, like toxic workplace? Is there any correlation in your eyes?
Oh yeah, I mean, some people are, have experienced quite a bit of trauma because of experiences at work. Some of us, when you absorb so much energy from others, when you internalize things that happen, that's why I talk
Mm.
about so much in my content. Like your everything isn't about you. You have to know that. You have to understand that your boss, even I say, even if you're the worst employee, you keep making mistakes, or you're this, your manager still owes you
Mhm.
respect and understanding and training. When they lash out or when they're struggling and they lash out at you, you can't always say,
Mhm.
what's wrong with me? That is what
Mhm.
breaks you down and makes it difficult for you to move on. So it's important to understand that everyone owns their own feelings, their own thoughts, their own actions, and no one gets a pass for disrespecting you anywhere. So yes, this when you have to learn to do that over time, um, to separate that negativity and not take it on. You want to be self-aware and know what you have to work on, but don't absorb it because that's where your self-esteem deteriorates.
Yeah.
You don't have the confidence. So mental
Eh,
health is important. Seek out
yeah.
professional help as well.
Yeah. And anyone that's listening, I know I got a lot of followers and people that listen to this podcast. If you're in a situation where you're trying to justify in your head that you need a job, but it's causing your mental health, always pick the other side. Always find a new job. There's always other opportunities. Never put yourself in a situation where on Sunday night you're dreading going to work. They say that most heart attack happens around that time too, because people get worried. And that's how I judge, a good job or not, is how you feel on a Sunday night. If you're like can't sleep and you're having anxiety, you can't stand your boss, your coworkers are toxic, why are you going to be working there? What is your take on that? Do you think someone should stick out a job and their mental health is suffering, especially if they've been through trauma already. Is this, I mean, what is your take on that? If you've, I know you talk to a lot of your people that you coach. What do they say to you about sticking it out and hopefully things will change?
Well, I've had to stick it out in some instances, especially particularly one like really major instance where every day was excruciating. Every day was painful. Every day it was like, oh my goodness, like because I was looking for another job.
Mhm,
So I couldn't afford to quit
mhm,
without having something set up. But I also didn't want to go into another job that was likely going to be, may have been just as bad and settle
mhm,
just because I want to run away from one place. So that's why I talk quite a bit about what can we do while you're there to help reduce your
mhm,
stress, which is this, not internalizing
mhm.
things, having some boundaries, getting there at 9, leaving at 5, taking your
Yeah.
lunch break away. How can you
Mhm,
manage the situation so that you have that energy
mhm.
to look for another
Yeah.
job? Now, if you can afford to leave, then
Right.
then by all means, I want you to do it. But for some people who
Who
can't
can't?
afford
Yeah.
that, they can't miss a check,
Mhm.
or two checks. Now we're into how do you navigate the
Mhm.
situation without completely falling apart.
Very well said. And I think that's the main issue here. I think majority of my listeners are stuck in a dead end job where they don't have the energy after work to go look or interview because they are working two or three jobs. If you're in that
Mm.
situation, always for like myself, I said to myself, I always will have a 6 month fund no matter what. So I've always put a little money aside for emergencies just in case if I'm in a situation where it's my mental health, I have that little cushion where I can leave, get myself together, and then find another job. Always keep looking. I always have people that are recruiters. I have networking people that in different industries. All I got to do is, call them and ask them when are they hiring, things like that. I'm always in the job market looking. I'm not saying that's what you need to do and be paranoid, but especially empaths, the way we operate, we don't keep boundaries. We know that we're going to be walked up all over. We don't speak up. These are things that are going to be detrimental, especially for an empath to kind of, survive in the workforce. That's why there's not some jobs that probably are not that empaths should kind of steer away from. And I'll do another episode on that. But like for right now, I think what you said, what do you do when you're kind of like in a corner and you have bills to pay and you have a toxic boss and your mental health is hurting? You got to take it each day at a time and make it work for you. And that's why, things like boundaries, speaking up, not being rude, but like standing your ground. These take practice.
Yeah.
What is
And
your take on that? Yeah,
pick one area because it's a lot.
yeah.
You pick what is. I have a video that I posted recently, like 6 career habits that are, can hold you back.
Mhm,
And it's a lot. Some people are like, well,
mhm,
I deal with all of this. Well, pick one.
mhm,
If like you mentioned, boundaries is an issue for you, then that is the one
mhm,
area that you can focus on, even in that
mhm,
toxic environment. And you can focus on how do
mhm,
I put better boundaries in place? Because if you're trying
mhm,
to focus on boundaries and speaking
mhm,
up and doing all these things, you're going to be
mhm.
overwhelmed. You don't have the energy
Yeah,
for it because you're stressed out. Stress,
right.
takes your energy, drains your energy. So pick one
Mhm,
area and commit to working on that and maybe doing something,
mhm,
3 times this week. I'm going to, really focus on starting at this time and ending at this
yeah.
time, no matter what. I'm going to focus on saying no
Mhm,
to and ask if it's not going to work for me. And then you can at least feel like you won. You're doing something that will
right.
bring your energy back up.
That's a good point. And just kind of wrapping up here, I mean, I know we talked about, some different topics, with HR and toxic bosses. When somebody leaves, I've noticed, and I'll be the first one to say, I'm sure there's a lot of people that will say that I'm not a team player. He was too good for success. He whined a lot. There's always going to be some critic on the other side to protect them. Can you please tell the audience why are these people, and I say these people, I'm talking about these leadership people and high management, toxic managers. How are they still in power after they have all these people revolving door, after people leaving day after day? Nothing happens to them. Yet you look at their background They don't have education, they don't have any management skills, yet they continue to be in that position, terrorizing that department until, everybody's gone. Can you explain like how that is possible that nobody from upper management can see that? Is it about numbers only, or why are they keeping these toxic people in power and in management roles?
Well, we have to look at how our managers evaluated, and that could be different in different companies. And as someone who's been a people manager, um, beyond like, okay, how well is your team doing? How are they, delivering results that the company needs? But it's also just like, how do we as the executive
Mhm,
team like the way you are an extension of us? And so you're not evaluated based on what your team thinks of you. And
mhm,
I think that should be a part of it as well. Like how do the people that you're leading feel about you? What do they have
mhm,
to say? That's typically not factored in. So you're only getting so how your manager is towards you could be, they could be a terror, but they could be fantastic
mhm.
to their leadership. And that's why they're there.
Yeah.
And because of you all. Because of the people who are their direct reports, despite your manager, you're still doing great work, so you're making them look good, even though they're terrible to you all at the same time, because you have your own standards for excellence at work. So, it's about, a management executive team really loves certain types of employees, certain types of people. They define leadership how they define it. And it may not be how those on the receiving end define it. So that's why those are some of the reasons why they're there. I've done videos on this as well. Um, it's it's how they are viewed by others, not how they're viewed by you.
Because obviously things nowadays, I think they're going more for the workers because people are refusing to go to work, like to work, period. A lot of people are quietly quitting, which is a real thing, where they're just doing the bare minimum. So for all you managers out there, maybe take some courses, maybe, get a leadership class here and there. Heck, get a degree in something, because I've noticed a lot of these managers that I've had in the past, they don't even have a high school diploma, some of them, and they're my manager. They haven't done leadership. They've never been a manager previously before being in that position, yet they are trying to be a manager in a group of like 20, 30 people. They have to have some sort of, I guess, uh, some sort of courses or some sort of background to be effective, to keep people motivated and be better than the day before they came in. So being the best version of yourself, I could say. Finally, in like 2 minutes, if you could just close out and give us a closing takeaway for the empath that's out there that maybe worked a lot of jobs and like kind of feeling lost, please give us one takeaway that someone could take away from this episode.
I would say, you know, really evaluate the environment that you're in. And instead of always or tending to look at like what's wrong with me, why am I not thriving here? Look into areas where you struggle, jot those down. Um, Things that don't have anything to do with anyone else. Be honest with yourself about that. But then also consider, you know, every environment is not going that the environment might just not be a good fit for you. And that's the case for many people. Some folks are really suited for the corporate worlds, or in certain types of companies are really suited for that. So really be real about, where do you think you can thrive? What type of leadership do you thrive under? How do you want to contribute? Start looking at what you do want and what you could have versus just what you have right now or what you have had. We all have to go through, well, not everyone, but like certainly I have gone through all types of foolishness in my career, and I have had to figure out, oh, this is how I thrive. This is the lane for me. But I've taken a beating to get here, but it is possible. So, and I learned to distance myself from everyone's energy to the point where it's not always about me. They're having their own struggles and I'm who they're projecting it on, but I don't absorb it. I'm going to throw it right back to you. not by me being, matching your energy, but it's like gonna just bounce off of me.
Yeah.
I have to maintain, who I am and stay confident because that's my power. My
Yeah.
confidence is all I have,
Yeah.
along with my gifts and my skills and talents. So let's focus more on like what you do want and what you can have versus what has gone wrong. And I think that would be a good first step.
It makes sense. And, we'll just want to add is you can't put your self-worth on a title or your happiness on a job. I know a lot of you guys have written up, especially on LinkedIn when you have that looking for a job, you seem desperate. A lot of those people that have left those companies, a lot of them are really hard workers. They're not, you don't feel like you're washed up or anything like that. There's always a saying, it's like another man's trash is another man's treasure. So always keep looking. There's always you just need that one person to believe in you. And
Yes.
for me, at least for these jobs, like not everybody thought of me as a diamond. I mean, a lot of them threw me out with the trash, and others picked me up and shined me right back up. And so you have to keep looking, always keep going forward and looking at your strengths. Maybe you're not good in sales, or maybe you're not good at like one industry. That doesn't mean like you're a failure in something. And money doesn't define you either, because I feel like I used to do that. Like, oh, if I don't make this much, then my worth isn't that much, in life. But you got to do what's good for you. As empaths, we absorb that energy. So always take care of your mental health first, and don't let any company, step on that. And always, if you need to, just always make sure that you're protecting your energy and your boundaries, and speak up when you need to. Get legal help if you need, especially nowadays with a lot of people making you work, hours that, because that's what happened to me. Like, I've been asked to work more hours than I was scheduled for. They get away with so many things nowadays. That's why I wanted to do this video, or this podcast with you. It's been a true pleasure having you. You're very, very good at what you do. Can you please tell us where we can find you, just for the audience, and
Yes.
anything else you'd like to drop before we take off here?
Yes, feel free to follow me on at Tanya U Coaching, the letter U, on Instagram and YouTube. I'm dropping videos on YouTube that I'm not dropping on other platforms, so feel free to check those out. I'm working on a newsletter that I will be sharing. So I have a career transition checklist on my social media. If you click the link, you'll be able to download that free checklist for those of you who are looking at like how can I leave an environment. And so you'll also be getting my newsletter once you sign up for that. So
All right,
thank you for
guys.
having me.
Yeah, you guys check her out. I'll put everything in the bio. I hope you got something out of it. I certainly did. You're always welcome back also for any other topics in the workforce, because I know that I'm going to get a bunch of questions on this one, or people are going to write some comments on this. So thank you again for being on the
Bring
show.
it. Thank you.
All right. There you have it for this episode. We're heading towards 300 episodes, almost 250 guests. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we are out.
Experience the captivating realm of the On-Call Empath, a podcast celebrated globally for its profound exploration of abuse and trauma. With over 200 guests and thought-provoking episodes, this top-rated show has captivated audiences worldwide, offering a diverse array of perspectives on handling adversity. Hosted by Raj Montage, the On-Call Empath delves into the depths of human experience, inviting thought doctors, therapists, and everyday individuals with extraordinary stories to share their insights. Each guest enriches the podcast with their wisdom, contributing to its reputation as a beacon of inspiration and enlightenment. Renowned for its ability to uncover the deeper truths that shape our world, the On-Call Empath is a sought-after destination for seekers of knowledge and understanding. With a commitment to fostering dialogue, connection, and empathy, the podcast transcends boundaries, sparking conversations that inspire, challenge, and uplift listeners globally. Join the global community of listeners who have made the On-Call Empath a top-ranked podcast and a source of inspiration in an ever-changing world. Subscribe today and embark on a transformative journey that will expand your mind and touch your heart. Find the On-Call Empath on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe now